Okay, so this is going to be a shorter episode. It is part two of Yankees Angels recap. We recapped the first two games of the set the other day, so go check that out if you would like. And now we're going to dive straight in. We're diving straight into the final two games of the set, which were also a split. So the Yankees split the series. That continued to just play this mediocre 500 ball to start the season, which is starting to get a little bit frustrating, but it is still early. So diving right in here on episode 1039, Yankees Angels on Wednesday to continue the series after the best win of the season. No, or was this the Caballero game? Yeah, this was the Caballero game, right? Wednesday. Trying to think now because now I don't remember. Yeah, this became the best win of the season. It was a 5-4 win that the Yanks had over the Angels on Jackie Robinson Day. The righty Luis Heel against the righty Kokonowitz. And the Yankees go for 5 runs on 6 hits, 1 home run, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts, a stolen base. They ground into 1 double play, and they go 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position in this game. 3 runs in 6 2/3 against the Angel starter, and against the Angel bullpen, they go for 2 runs in an inning and 2/3. They don't get anything on Pomeranz, but of course, they get 2 more runs, I should say, on Jordan Romano. We've had Yankee killers over the years. Jordan Romano is the complete opposite. Just reminds me of guys they used to feast on, like the Ryan Presley or was it Presley? The other guy for the Astros. I think it was 100 Miles Giles. I don't know why I get flashbacks to him punching himself. But Jordan Romano, the Yankees feast off him. But bottom of the first inning, Judge solo home run. It's 1-0. Bottom 2, Grisham 2-run single to the pull side, 3-zip. Yanks don't score all the way until the 9th. Bottom of the 9th, Yankees are down 4-3. Jose Caballero at the plate, and he picks up a hit and run walk-off double. Austin Wells, or first of all, Jazz obviously scores from second, but Austin Wells to take the lead or to win the game, because Jazz was the tying run, goes from first to home, gets in there just in time. Yanks win and walk it off 5-4. Best win of the season to date. So Caballero with the big hit. He goes 1 for 3, double, walk, 2 RBIs. Continues to hit this, these last couple of weeks. Jazz goes 1 for 3 with a walk and a stolen base. He hit the bloop single, and I put quotes around that in the 9th inning to start that rally. It was a pop-up that Peraza and Neto probably should have got. And then he ends up stealing second off of that. Wells goes 1 for 2 with a couple of walks. He had the big walk to follow up that Jazz single in the 9th. And then some other lines, 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs for Grisham. Bellinger 1 for 3, double and a walk, and Judge 1 for 4 with the home run. Yankee defense in this game, top of the first inning, Judge makes this insane throw from 7 feet only above the warning track, all the way to third base. Didn't throw anybody out, but probably would have. It prevented Zach Neto from tagging and going to third. Just an insane rocket. His arm has been really good this year, which is encouraging after, the injury he dealt with last year. Top 3, Jazz Chisholm makes an excellent diving stop, gets the throw to first to get him. Top of the 7th, Bellinger nabs Neto from left field at third base. And then top of the 8th, the Yankees turn a double play, go from McMahon to Jazz to Rice. So some good defensive display in this game, but of course that won't be mentioned. Aaron Boone, I think I'm going to save this for later in the ep when we talk about Boone. Now, I'll bring it up now. It probably wasn't brought up because it doesn't fit the narrative, but I do think it's important to bring it up. because in the bottom of the ninth inning, the Yankees or Boone had Rosario ready to hit in a right on right matchup over McMahon. You know, if Caballero didn't win it, Rosario would have stepped up against the matchup. So Boone went with feel over, the matchup. And a lot of times he gets criticism for going with the matchup. And of course, nobody wants to mention stuff like this. So that was interesting. Just didn't feel it with McMahon because he has been struggling. And then he also uses Bednar in the ninth. Despite it being a non-save, he obviously hadn't pitched at the time in 4 days. Excuse me. So those were some of the decisions that Boone went with. On the mound in this, Luis Gil made his second start, 5 innings, 4 runs, couple of walks, 5 strikeouts, 5 hits, 3 home runs allowed, 83 pitches, got the no decision. It was better. He looked decent for a minute, but then he fell apart. And at the end of the day, it was just kind of more the same, where the velocity is still pretty down. The location is still very shoddy. His four-seam fastball, which used to be the pitch he dominated with and got swing and miss and racked up Ks, and just it was an unhittable pitch early in his career. The four-seamer is still getting crushed. Angel hitters in this game went 4 for 11 on it, 364 average. Top of the third, Yanks are up 2-0. Leaves 95 middle of the plate to Frazier. It's a home run. It's 3-1. Top of the fifth, O'Hoppe hits a home run, 96 top of the zone. Trout hits a home run, 95 middle of the plate. It's 4-3 Angels. So the four-seamer continues to be his nightmare. The changeup continues to be his best secondary of the two. It gets the most swing and miss. The slider, in my opinion, is not great. It's very flat. But just more of the same for Gil. I would much rather somebody else in that spot. But I guess, who else? I mean, you call up one of your prospects, Elmer, I don't know. Do you use Yarborough? You don't need too long, man. We've talked about that, and we'll probably touch on it again later. But Gil was more of the same. And the bullpen gives you 4 innings. Hill with a clean sixth. Cruz with a clean 7th. Headrick with a clean 8th. And Bednar with a clean 9th. Racked up 2 strikeouts. Once again, not getting swing and miss on the four-seam, but his off-speed has still looked good. Josh Lowe struck out. Splitter, bottom of the zone. He gets O'Hoppe to strike out. Splitter, followed up by 2 curveballs, bottom of the zone. And then yesterday, the Yankees, after winning a really fun game, drop an ugly game, 11-4. The lefty Fried against the lefty Sutter. The Yankee bats 4 runs, 8 hits, 3 home runs, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts, 0 for 2 in scoring position, 3 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing, 1 time picked off. That was Caballero. Can't happen. Against the Angel starter, 1 run in 2 innings. Against the Angel bullpen, 3 runs and 7. So they did kind of an opener. Bottom 1, down 2-0 the Yankees were. Judge with another home run, solo shot to cut it in half. Bottom 3, Yanks take the lead. Stanton go-ahead home run to dead center, 3-2. Bottom 6, Yanks are down 6-3 again. Ben Rice gives the Yankees their last run of the night or of the afternoon. Solo home run to make it 6-4. Judge was 1 for 4 with an RBI. Bellinger was 1 for 3 with a walk. Stanton 1 for 4, a couple of RBIs. Rice 1 for 4 with an RBI. Caballero 3 for 4, 2 stolen bases, and again he got picked off. Jazz was over 2, couple of walks and a stolen base. He stole third. On the mound was Max Fried, who goes 5 1/3, 5 runs, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, 3 hits, a home run, 93 pitches, and he gets the loss. Fried hasn't been himself for a few starts now. He will be fine. Now, as for this start specifically, I was listening to this game, and I was kind of at work listening to it, so I didn't pay too much attention. So I don't have enough to really break down the outing. But going into what happened, it just seemed like he didn't have his fastball yesterday. Top of the first inning, Adele works a 2-out walk, which is just my pet peeve. He's missing high with his fastball to him. His cutter and his four seam, he can't land it. He's missing high in the zone, walks him. And then it's Peraza with a 2-run home run. He leaves 94 high, but in the zone. 2-0 Angels. Top 6, his last inning of work. Trout works a 1-out walk on him, missing with his fastball again. He leaves 94 cutter, middle of the zone to Joe Adele. It's a ground ball single. And then Peraza with an RBI double, 96-mile-an-hour sinker, too high in the zone. The game is tied. That's when he's pulled for Fernando Cruz, who did his job outside of he did walk a guy, but he, gives up a ground ball single and a bloop single. The inherited run scores, so kind of ruins Fried's final line. But again, Fried not good, but he'll be fine. The bullpen, 3 2/3. So again, Cruz got the 6, 2/3 of an inning, 1 run, 1 inherited run, 2 hits, a walk, 2 strikeouts. Angel Trevi makes his debut with the squad, gets the 7th, 2/3 of an inning, 1 run, couple of walks, a hit, a home run, 2 strikeouts. Yarbrough got the rest of the night, put the game to bed. I mean, he had a walk, a balk, a hit batter, 3 hits, the Adele grand slam. It's 11-4. He was bad. But you go back to the first game of this series on Monday, and if you missed part 1, the recap in episode 1038, definitely check that out. Will Warren pitched on Monday, goes 3 2/3 innings, 4 runs allowed, no earned runs, 3 hits, a double, a walk, a hit batter, 6 strikeouts, 89 pitches, and no decisions. So the fact that we are tipping our cap to him just goes to show how bad the rotation was this series. Again, to recap what we said in episode 1038, he was really sharp early on, tunneling the 2-seamer and sweeper to right-handed bats, the 2-seamer on the hands, the sweeper away off the plate. Velocity was strong early, 95, 96. Of course, it then started to dip a little bit. But, top of the first, he gets Neto to strike out, sweeper away. Top of the second, he gets Soler to strike out, 96 low and away. Moncada strikes out looking, 96-mile-an-hour 2-seam, top of the zone. Top of the third, Frazier strikes out. He goes front door, 2-seam up and in. Neto strikes out again. He goes 2-seam in to a sweeper away. Top of the fourth, that's when it all unravels on him. Caballero makes the error. Goldie can't turn the double play. He hangs a sweeper. He leaves 95 over the plate. He has that 11 pitch at bat. It just unravels for him, and that's when it got bad. So not all of it was on him. The defense wasn't great. He did make some good pitches that just found holes. Cruz didn't help, but still struggling to finish guys off. Long pitch counts, and the stuff does dip a little bit command-wise as he goes deeper into the order. Third time through has always been an issue for him. So still the best of this series. So by process of elimination, Will Warren gets his second tip of the cap this year. But, yeah, I mean, the pitching is folding a bit right now. In this series alone, these 4 games, the Yankees allowed 32 runs and 13 home runs. They allowed 13 home runs in a single series. I'm pretty sure there are some teams this year who have allowed 13 home runs on the year. Maybe not, but that's pretty close to probably the best team in limiting homers. I mean, that's really bad. And you can stretch it back a little further bit. The pitching's not been good, but listen, it's a bad turn through the rotation. I'm not worried about that too much, but it does start to get a little bit thin after Cam Schlittler. You go Fried, Schlittler, and then, Warren, Weathers, and Heel are all getting fine results right now, especially Warren and Weathers, but the lack of length is hurting because the bullpen depth, being what it is, has not been good. That it's not a good combination when you get to your 3 to 5, and they're only able to give you 4 to 5 tops, and you have to go to a bullpen that's being worked hard, which we're going to touch on right now. But so that's the only frustrating thing, and it's like the fact that the Yankees are relying now very heavily on 2 veteran starters coming back from significant injuries does scare me a little bit, but I do think they'll be okay. It's the bullpen again that I'm a little more worried about. Now, the underlying stuff has been good, and it says that they are doing a lot of the right things. I still don't love the lack of velocity in the pen, so I'm not sure if the Yankees sent Angel Chavili back down. I didn't look at my phone recently, but I would like to see him stay up for a bit. Obviously you got the 15-day thing with Bird, can't be called back up yet. So I'm intrigued with Chavili. I think he has a hard fastball and a pretty good changeup. Maybe LeGrand and Elmer Cruz get fast tracked. I don't know. Again, with guys coming back, do Weathers or Heel go to the pen? Do you do something at the deadline? Hopefully that's something they focus on at the deadline, because they really didn't do enough with the bullpen in the offseason. It's been something we've talked about. But yeah, it's that lack of depth, right? That's really what's killing them. They are carrying 2 long men right now in both Blackburn and Yarbrough. Very unnecessary, in my opinion. Doing that, and it's just you're not going to use 2 long men, so you're taxing these guys a lot, because now with 2 long men, you're relying heavily on a smaller group of high leverage arms. And in this series alone, you saw Blackburn, his second appearance was a very short stint. They used him for just, I think, 4 outs. So they had to go to Headrick and Yerry De Los Santos to cover innings after that. And Headrick is a huge key to this bullpen. He became unavailable the next day because he had to be used after Blackburn. I saw a very good point on Twitter by Ryan Garcia saying, like, Yerry was optioned, which created some flexibility issues for the next 2 weeks. It's not some world beater, but it doesn't seem like it does seem to, he seems to belong in the MLB. He's not crazy good, but he does have some good stuff. He can tunnel the 2-seam with some of his other pitches. I think he's got a changeup to play off it too. So he's not a bad pitcher. But yeah, it's a weird construction in the back there, and he also, Ryan Garcia went on to say, like, I thought this was a really good point. Like, would having Headrick yesterday, would that have made Boone willing to deploy Cruz sooner, or Hill versus Josh Lowe? Like, it just, those decisions have really downstream effects, So it's just, having 2 long men really creates this domino effect that I just don't love, and I wish that wasn't the case from the start of the season. But bullpen is obviously something we expected to be weak, and it has been weak so far this season. The good thing is now the bats are clicking. You just need these 2 things to click at once. The pitching and the offense just hasn't been able to find that same track. But they are coming alive, the bats. In the last 6 games, the Yankees have scored 29 runs. That's just under 5 per game. That's very good. They hit 11 home runs in their last 6 games, which is just under 2 per game. Also very good. They have a .463 slug, which would be second if it was that all season, and a .782 OPS, which would be fourth in the last 6 games. It would be fourth on the season if they had that. So that's good to see that uptick. Grisham is slowly coming around, starting to produce some results now. The at-bats, the under-the-hood stuff have been very good all year. Aaron Judge, of course, coming around. We'll talk a little bit more on him in a second. Stanton, it was nice to see the home run yesterday. He continues to rip the ball on a line. Love when Stanton's hitting for power. He was hitting 300 with like a 700 OPS. Didn't love that. So hopefully less average, more power now from Stanton, as that's what we expect from him. Like what I continue to see from Wells. We speak on him enough as it is, so we won't dive into that again. But I do like what I see. Jazz, who has been bad all year, and his process has been bad all year. I will say the last 2 games offensively have been a little bit better. He's worked 3 walks, has a hit, and 8 plate appearances in the final half of this series. So a 500 OBP across a 2-game sample. Again, we're grasping at straws here, but it is nice to see the walks come. That continues to be very key for him when he's not chasing out of the zone, and when he's drawing walks. That's when he's best. That's been the big difference as a Yankee in terms of his plate discipline, at least. It's taken an uptick, but this year it's not. So hopefully that's something that continues to happen. So he's at least getting on base. Now, the power is not there. His launch angles have kind of been everywhere this season. Sometimes he's getting way too under it, and it's a lot of pop-ups. And then sometimes you're seeing him get on top of it. It's too many ground balls. So he's still searching for that barrel. That was his thing last year. He was connecting on the barrel a lot, had the perfect launch angle for him. Still kind of looking for that. But yeah, he continues to be very excellent everywhere else, like on the bases and in the field. He's making extraordinary plays at second and real big impact on the bases every single night. Of course, nobody wants to mention that because it's not loud and it doesn't get clicks, but that's been very good for him. But back to just the offensive production as a unit, it's been better lately. And one thing you can say about this Yankees lineup is, I know they haven't produced up to expectation yet. They have shown a lot of fight as a team. There have been a ton of ninth inning or just later inning rallies, and even if it hasn't always led to wins, it is encouraging to see this. You can go all the way back to that Seattle series. They had a big 10th, or they had a big 7th inning to tie the game against Seattle. They had a big 9th inning to tack on an important run against Seattle, I think, the next day. They score a bunch of runs in the second half of the game against the Marlins after they were trailing 4-0. The next day, they rally in the 9th inning. They had 4 runs in the 8th to come from behind against the A's. Obviously, they had some clutch hitting in the extra inning game against Tampa. They scored 2 runs in the 9th to almost complete the comeback the next day against them. And obviously this series, where you had the first game of the series, the Yankees scored 3 runs in the 9th to walk it off. And then you had the walk-off win with Caballero on Wednesday. So they've been doing a lot of that. Now that's more of a feel thing. It's not like an analytical thing that's backed up, and we could have a whole convo about clutch and stuff, but it is a positive thing, in my opinion, to see them fighting and showing that grit early on here. But the offensive production is starting to come around, and I do think it will. And I got to tip my cap to Aaron Judge from the lineup this series, who was fantastic. Tipping our cap to him the second time this season. This series, in 4 games, Judge produced a .1059 slug, 4 home runs, double, 5 RBIs, 4 runs. The back and forth with Trout all series was really freaking fun. I hope just Yankees fans realize that they're also baseball fans and they get to appreciate stuff like that. 2 of the greats, 2 Hall of Fame players just going at it like that was really cool to see. So Judge is getting hot. He's been hot for a minute now. You can stretch it back to the Miami series, which is his last 13. 292 average, 393 on base, 708 slug, 1101 OPS, 6 homers, 7 walks, 11 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. So that is much more like the Aaron Judge numbers that we expect. So that is nice to see because he's starting to lift the ball in the air more, right? Early on in the season, a lot of ground balls, but he's continuing to square it up. But now he's lifting it, continues to hit it hard. all the Judge stuff. The walks have been a bit up and down this year. I'm keeping an eye on that, but I don't think that's anything concerning. That's going to come. So Judge continues to do his thing. And then, real quick, to tip our cap, going to the bullpen, I'll go to Brent Headrick again, who is now the sole leader in cap tips with 3 on the season. 2 scoreless appearances in this series, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. Didn't strike anybody out. Did put some traffic on, but the run prevention was there. And again, with the bullpen that struggled, he was probably the least bad of them. 2 innings, no runs, 3 base runners. A guy who this season has been really solid. The swing and miss has mostly been there. The release point, that makes him tough to hit. Pitch mix is good. Low cost reliever. I think he's going to be good for this team. One of those Matt Blake projects. So the Yankees continue to lose. And, they are, 10-9, 11-9? I'm kind of losing track, but not good. Of course, though, it's New York City and the media, and there's a lot of impatient New Yorkers out there, and everybody's angry. If people want to fire Boone already, I'm seeing that on social media. I'm hearing it on radio talk shows. Like, I was there at one point. I couldn't stand Boone at one point. I wanted him fired after every loss too. I'm kind of over it. I think it's a bit ridiculous to have this conversation over and over. Like, a lot of people want this old school, mean, stern guy that like rips into his players and throws shit in the clubhouse and talks shit in the post game. Like, these are grown ass adults. This is not a team who's trying to learn like youth baseball, getting some tough love. No, like it's. I don't care, man. I really don't care. Most of this outrage is just emotional outrage because people can't handle that even good teams will have 60 to 70 losses. And like I what it comes down to for me is I might not like the cut of his jib, but managers today do very little managing. I don't care. And plus, like, the bullpen decisions have been fine. I've not been outraged by any of that. The starting pitching decisions have been fine. Leaving them in games, pulling them. There's been nothing that's been like, what? And he goes by baseball logic. He goes by important data that every good team uses. You'd be stupid not to use data. Even, again, he went with good old feel the other day with Rosario on deck. The lineup stuff, it's been good. He's got the primary lineup versus right-handed pitching that he goes to. And then he's got the left-handed lineup, which has shuffled a little bit. But again, like with the Ben Rice stuff, we talked about it last episode. Yes, I'm with everybody. Like, I also wish Rice started more, but I think the discourse, if you can call it that, is just incredibly over-exaggerated at the same time. It feels very manufactured. It just feels very just like classic Monday morning radio stuff to get, again, engagement, views, clicks. I don't have this. I want him in there, but I don't have this significant issue with the Yankees leading on actual baseball logic and playing the matchups. I care about wins, and the Yankees don't want to risk wins right now because Rice is still struggling to consistently find it against lefties. I know he hit the homer, but it's not consistent yet. And so the Yankees would rather go with the higher floor. And let's go with Paul Goldschmidt against lefties right now, who is just Babe Ruth against them. We want to get wins right now as we are struggling to maintain a 500 record. So that's why they're going with Goldschmidt. It's funny because those same people advocating for Ben Rice every second, every day are probably the same people who cannot handle a single loss. So if Ben Rice goes out there against the lefty and he's 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and the Yankees lose the game, it's like pick your poison. I do think there's going to come a point where Ben Rice will start against lefties consistently. And I still think he's going to get a ton of plate appearances this year. And yeah, Goldie is raking against lefties, and it's just baseball logic. Same-handed hitting is not easy. If you're going left on left, you're allowing that guy, if he's like a slider pitcher, to use that slider. But if you go to Paul Goldschmidt against a lefty, he's probably not going to see the slider as much. So I just think the whole Boone criticism is just, it's old, and I'm tired of it. Most of these people are old, like, traditionalist boomers who hate New Age baseball anyway, and they probably will never change their mind, and they probably can't even name most of the other managers in baseball. They're just focusing in on the one. And I thought somebody put that so well on Twitter. I think it was the guy, I brought him up a few eps ago, Yankee Stats. I think his handle is Chris Coop on Twitter. Put it so well, I'm going to read it word for word here. Staunch reminder that 99% of Boone haters don't actually have arguments as to why Boone is a bad manager relative, key word there, to the 29 other managers in the league. For starters, the vast majority of that bunch don't know the names of more than 5 other major league managers, let alone how they manage games to compare Boone to. So true. And secondly, these 99% of Boone haters literally hate Boone because he doesn't throw chairs and punch walls. The people that hate Boone are mad that he doesn't stand in front of the camera and vindicate every bit of man-childish, fabricated, over-dramatic emotion watching baseball teams lose some games in a 162-game season that they feel. People don't like Boone because they can't compartmentalize their favorite sports team just getting beat, even though they subconsciously know a team on average is going to lose 60 to 75 games a year. So they expect the salaried and experienced manager of a baseball team to stand up there and curse out their players in childish fashion so they can feel better about their little temper tantrum. Sure, as I've said before, I think Boone could do a better job of conveying info to the press, and I not only understand others that get frustrated with that, but sometimes feel the same way. But I also understand this is maybe 0.1% of a manager's actual job, which in and of itself has little impact on the outcome of a roster. Perfectly put, I thought. We go through this every single year. Last year we made it seem like World War III when the Yankees struggled in the middle of the summer. They still came out of it with 94 wins, tied for the most in the American League. The Yankees right now are 500, a game above 500, through just over, a half of a month? Maybe 12% of the entire season. So I say just wait. I say relax. I say learn how to watch a 162-game season by now. Maybe most of these Yankees fans are also big-time football fans, and that's why they're expecting production right away every single game, because there's very little margin for error in football. Fortunately, in a marathon like baseball, there is some margin for error, so you don't have to be full-fledged on the attack every game and expecting wins every night. So that's where we are. The Yankees have a 3-game weekend set coming up against the Royals, still at Yankee Stadium. So that's nice. That starts tonight. I would like to sweep that team. The Yankees need to get hot. It'd be nice to start tonight. So 3 games against the Royals, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then they got Boston next week. But with that said, no break, no trivia. We're just going to wrap this one up here. I got to head to work. Appreciate you all. I'll see you soon. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.